You're watching 90s rock in 9 minutes. I'm Sam Bass. This is Steve. We're going over Stabbing Westward, Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel, which sounds very painful. So, Steve is an expert at industrial rock from the 90s, and I brought him on today to dissect this album to its core. People think of grunge in the 90s, but there was also industrial rock. You remember, right?
Oh yeah, I think that was all spearheaded by Nine Inch Nails.
Nine Inch Nails, and before that, it was Skinny Puppy.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Well, they were more. I would say Skinny Puppy was more like pure industrial,
Yeah, they were
and
pure.
then Nine Inch Nails came and took that and shoehorned it into the form of a pop song.
Right. I actually have Skinny Puppy's Too Dark Park right here, and it's signed by Ogre and Kevin Key.
Ooh, very nice.
But you need gloves for that.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Industrial rock in the 90s, obviously we've traced it back. He's like an archaeologist for industrial music. And, you know, it's like Jurassic Park. He's like Professor Grant, and I'm like that little kid who gets electrocuted off the fence. So, Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel, what does that make you think of?
I would say like post-apocalyptic destruction.
I would actually think of like a sunburn.
Yeah, it'd be a post-apocalyptic sunburn.
Yeah, like a nuclear sunburn.
Sunburn, yes.
You actually are incinerated. The lyrics on here, like the first song, like right when you put this record in, he's like, I'm such an asshole. I'm such a stain. And I don't know about you, but that didn't bring up a good image in my head, you know?
No. It was, I'd say, if you wanted to, like, put the whole... For me, the lyrical content is, you know, you broke up with me and I'm angry and devastated. There's lines in there, how do I exist without you? That, you know, it's like someone who's defined their entire existence
Yeah.
from, that my only definition of self is through you, my partner. And then just the what do I have to do to make you want me? If I can't make you want me, just tell me what I have to do. It's the stalker boyfriend who won't go away.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, then you got Why, Falls Apart, So Wrong, Crushing Me.
Soundtrack to the angry boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend, yes.
And he's questioning whether it was even actually a legitimate relationship. You know?
Yes.
He's mad about getting dumped when she was cheating on him the whole time. That's Wither, Blister, Burning Pill. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't ever let anybody like define me that much. You know what I mean?
I believe that is true. Yes, and that's a healthy way to exist.
So this album artwork, I like to go over, you know, what the band was thinking when they created their, musical opus. And this looks like a knick-knack shelf with, on the cover, like a bunch of candles and, necklaces and incense.
Yep, I would go with that knick-knack shelf.
So he saw him live because he was around in the 90s, and I wish I could have seen him. But here's more from Steve.
So I took off work early on Friday and went down to, I believe it was the Deep Ellum Music Festival. The two things I remember most was that their keyboardist had his keyboard rig on this big swiveling swing that he rocked back and forth around. That, and the other part was there were these, I want to say it was like 5 or 6 kids, maybe they were 15, 16 years old, and there was this guy there with his girlfriend, and I think they bumped into him. Like, they were, mosh pitting amongst themselves. They accidentally bumped into him and his girlfriend, and spilled the guy's drink. And he got in their face, and it was like, have you seen Moana, the little coconut feet, pirates that swarm and attack? It was like that. Those coconut pirates just swarmed and attacked that poor guy, and he didn't know what hit him. It was just like, boom! And then he was like, after like 10 seconds, he's getting up off the floor, and he's like, got a bloody nose and a fat lip and a black eye, and he's just like, what the hell happened? Nuts.
So what he's saying is that was an awesome show.
Yeah, I'm sure that guy will never forget that show.
When I was growing up in the 90s, I remember this guy that I hung out with. He was a cool dude with long hair and the giant pants that were like this wide leg. And he was like really into this album. And he's like, the song Inside You, he was talking about how it literally is like the musical equivalent of being a guy and liking a girl. And then you're kind of flirting with her. And then maybe you start to kiss her or whatever. And then whenever he finally screams, inside you, like obviously you're getting laid. And then it kind of like peters out, for lack of a better term. And, that's you laying in bed afterward with a cigarette. And I do agree with that whole.
They've encapsulated an evening of meeting a girl, hooking up with her, and drifting off to sleep with her in one song.
In one song. Well, I read that, they kind of blew up in the 90s, and then actually by the late 90s, they came out with a record that was like all acoustic. It's like they write songs like the bare bones acoustic or whatever, and then they go in and add all this, keyboards and everything. But they just came out with an album without adding any of that stuff, and it was like wuss rock, and they just failed after that. Yeah, and then I heard one of the guys wound up going back to his hometown and managing a Dairy Queen.
Oh.
So the only withering and blistering he's gonna get is if he falls into the fryer.
Yeah. They climbed the mountain, got on top. They did it.
He's back to flipping burgers, but we're still talking about the album, so that matters.
Yes.
Actually, they came out with a new album just recently. It's called like Chasing Ghosts, and it sounds like exactly like this. So they were like, okay, let's not do the wuss rock thing anymore, and I liked it. So basically, I did just want to make it clear that I do like this album. I know we've been kind of ripping on them, but I remember being in a car in like the 90s as a kid and hearing What Do I Have to Do on the radio, and it just created a mood, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I want to make music like that. And so I really do like them musically. Lyrically, I still kind of like it, except for the first few lines. You said you didn't really.
Yeah, I would rate it like a 4 or 5 out of 10 lyrically, but musically it's awesome. I really, the sonics, the guitar tones, the beats, I would, definitely 8 or 9 out of 10. Top shelf stuff musically.
I'd like to thank my guest Steve. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For being on here, sharing some knowledge about industrial rock in the 90s. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see you next time on 90s Rock. In what?
9 minutes.
Oh, damn, we didn't even practice that. All right, let's do this again.